There is a change taking place within these islands. Wildlife that's been missing for hundreds of years is returning. Beavers are back in our rivers. White-tailed eagles are nesting from the Highlands of Scotland to the shores of the south coast of England. And all across Britain, people are starting to ask a question that would have seemed eccentric a generation ago. What if we let the wild come back?
And whilst the literal green shoots of hope are appearing in the landscape itself, alongside the ecological story, there is another one. That the UK ranks amongst the lowest countries on earth for nature connectedness, not just for wildlife, but for our sense of belonging in the natural world. For many people here, wildness feels like somewhere else, something for other countries, something that happens on television, and the studies back this up. The Girl Who Cried Wolf is a unique narrative fiction film that asks what happens when the wild returns to us, not just as spectacle, but as presence. This film began as a question about wildlife and became a question about us.
It's the story about Eilidh, a Glaswegian vet who we find attending a hen do in the Scottish Highlands.
Eilidh signs up to a morning walk with some of her fellow hens, but when no one shows up, she heads off into the Glenleckie wilderness alone.
And whilst out on this impromptu wild walk, she encounters an enigmatic wolf, a species that's been missing from this landscape since the 1700s. She returns to the estate and shares her encounter with the gillies, who dismiss it as a trick of the light or a stray dog. But Eilidh's a vet and she knows a wolf when she sees one.
She returns to Glasgow and her day-to-day life running her vet practice with her partner Aaron, but she can't shake the experience. She invests every spare minute into trying to prove its existence, calling wildlife parks, researching private animal collections, and learning about potential reintroductions. Aaron encourages her to move on, but she can't. The encounter has ignited something inside her, and so she convinces him to follow her back out to Glenleckie.
The Girl Who Cried Wolf was inspired by ideas and concepts in George Monbiot's book Feral, so much so that we felt that we needed to get his input on the screenplay. We were thrilled when he read it and gave it his blessing, describing it as a brilliant idea. We see this film as answering George's call to action for radical filmmaking in this space.
Creatively, the film will push beyond its audiovisual boundaries and touch all the senses. When Eilidh heads out into the wilderness, we will create a haptic experience that mirrors hers, with the natural world becoming almost smellable and touchable in the evocative style of filmmakers such as Terrence Malick and Werner Herzog.
Whilst The Girl Who Cried Wolf tells a complete story, it's also a proof of concept for a feature film which will reveal the wolf's origins.
We sincerely hope that the film will inspire more narrative fiction cinema that explores themes of rewilding, conservation, and our connection to the natural world. And while there have been some powerful films that have touched on these themes over the years, films that place the natural world and conservation at the emotional centre of the story still feel rare, but that's something that we would love to be a part of changing.
This is a film about a woman who encounters something which she cannot explain. It's an exploration of the moment when the body starts to listen before the mind has caught up.
So we're raising funds to make this film carefully, responsibly, and in close relationship with the Scottish places that are so close to our hearts.
And if you, like us, believe that stories still have the power to change how we see the world, then we would love for you to join us to help us tell this one.
Go for a walk?
Check my well in?
Sure.